Shri Pera Kripayeno Amar Pratihar Pada Shaya Jaya Mahashaya Shri Prabhupada Ranginaya Jaya Shirupera Pada Padme More Samarpe Prabhu Lokanata Kove Ranginaya Jaya Shirupera Pada Padme More Samarpe Enoki Sakiga Ananda Shashani Enoki Sakiga Ananda Dunia Jikada Shri Rupa Kripa Yogadachara Shri Rupa Kripa Yogadachara Panchapana Shri Rupera Kripa Amar Pratihar Vepada Shri Mahasha Shri Pratihar Vepada Shri Mahasha Shri Pada Padma Enoki Hoi Narmasakhiga Anugatana Shashane Narmasakhiga Anugatana Shirupa Kripaya Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Dunya Chisadu, Bole Sarvaja, Shri Rupa Kripaya, Bole Sarvaja, Shri Rupa Kripaya, Yoga Srinatham Das Thakur ki jai. Read the translation.
They had heart in the mouth of that girl said that the muscles one may also participate in
O Sanatan Prabhu, O personal associate of Lord Chaitanya, please fulfill my desire. Please fulfill my desire that saintly Sri Rupa Goswami may be merciful to me, and that will be able to take shelter of his lotus feet. When will my master Lokanath Goswami place me at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa Goswami? When, by your mercy, will your faithful follower Narottam Das become eligible to receive direct
instruction from the Gopi friends of the divine. Jai Shri Rupa Swami Pada ki jai, Shri Narottam Das. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadate Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajata Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Pada Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Shah Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin iti namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaurvani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratushe Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhesha Kripa Sindhu Bhevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vacharam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yatkripātamaham Vande Shri Guru Dīnataram Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna. So, welcome back to the Nectar Devotion class to discuss further about our ongoing introduction and then further chapter 1 of Nectar Devotion, characteristics of pure devotion service. So, I hope Ranjal Prabhu, happy to see you in train. Yeah. So, we discussed about the glories of Sri Rupa Goswami, both in his Goswami form as Sri Rupa Goswami and in his spiritual form as Sri Rupa Manjari. And we discussed about the preface, how Srila Prabhupada emphasizes that this book, Nectar Devotion, is meant to teach us how to love Krishna, because without loving Krishna, the purpose of life cannot be fulfilled. Everyone wants to be loved and to love. And this propensity to love and to be loved can only be perfected by loving Krishna. And in connection to Krishna, one can love everyone and everything else. And this Nectar Devotion is meant to train us and teach us that principle. Then we saw the introductory part. And in that introduction, we saw the Mangalacharan, the first 6 verses obeisances to the Supreme Lord, the all attractive Krishna, the reservoir of all rasas, Akhil Rasa Amrita Murti. And then obeisances to Srila Sanatana Goswami, obeisances to all the Vaishnavas, prayers to the Vaishnavas to protect this scripture, the nectar devotion, and then the benediction. And Srila Prabhupada also adds his own Mangalacharan to the same. Then we saw about the definition of pure devotion service. Yesterday's setting was good. Now, okay, I will. This is for sound for those. Okay, online. So we saw the definition of pure devotion service, 3 primary characteristics. Anya Avilashita Shunyam Jnana Karmadi Anavritam Anukulena Krishna Anushilanam Bhaktir Uttamam. It's Krishna Anushilanam and it's Anukulena. And the 2 secondary characteristics, that it is free from material desires and it is not covered by Jnana Karma or other things like that. So yesterday we read from the Nectar Devotion book. Today we will see a little bit from the PPT because there's some additional points being covered over there. And after that we'll move on to the characteristics of pure devotion service, 6 characteristics, 2 of them manifesting in each stage, 2 in the stage of sadhana bhakti, 2 in the stage of bhava bhakti, 2 in the stage of prema bhakti. So we'll see them in briefly. That. Mangalacharan we recited. He did not exactly offer benediction, he prayed for the protection, that's what he said. That how the Mimamsakas and the other philosophies, which are like the Badaba fire, like the volcanic eruption in the ocean, may they not disturb that. In the 6th verse, let me see. And he, in the 6th verse, last verse, he expresses his humility. Although I am ignorant, for the joy of my friends, I have undertaken this work concerning Bhakti Rasa related to Krishna, who is auspicious for the whole world. So it is auspicious for the whole world, that is the benediction. So he expresses humility. And then further, he describes about the sections, the 4 sections in the book, and the Eastern division, what we are reading currently, defines different types of bhakti. The 4 views in that, Samanya Bhakti, then Sadhana Bhakti, then Bhava Bhakti, then Prema Bhakti. And then it says, the first wave, the superiority of Bhakti to other processes, the unique characteristics of Uttam Bhakti will be related. So then the definition is given in the 1.1.11, the auspicious, 1111. First part, first chapter, 11th verse. And then the definition is given and it is explained. And after that, another definition from Narad Pancharatra is quoted for that. And from verse 13 onwards, 13 onward, the characteristics of pure devotion service are being given. And they are there till text number 43, I believe. Text 14. Text 46. So, till text 46, this later chapter talks about the characteristics of pure devotion service. So, Prabhupada covers this chapter in a part of introduction and first chapter. And in Bhakti Rasamrita in the book, this is first chapter, which becomes equivalent to introduction and chapter 1 of Nectar of Devotion. So it's like that connectivity then. But, yeah. Yesterday we discussed that, but it's still just a few additional points and to revise it also. Yeah, so here it is. The definition of pure devotional service. Anya vilashita shunyam jnana karmadyanavritam anukulena krishnanu shilanam bhaktiruttama. So the translation goes, when first class devotional service develops, that means there may be second class, third class, many other classes, which are mixed bhakti, karma mishrit, jnana mishrit, and other things. One must be devoid of all material desires, knowledge obtained by monastic philosophy, and fruitive action. Their devotee must constantly serve Krishna favorably as Krishna desires. This is the definition given. So it has a Sarup Lakshan, essential characteristic, and Tatastha Lakshan, marginal characteristic. Primary characteristic, secondary characteristic. So essential characteristics are three. Anukulena, it is favorable. It is intended to please Krishna. It is for Krishna. Krishna includes Krishna and all his expansion, his pure devotees. Anushilanam, it is cultivated following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. Anu also means constant. So it is like constant pulses. It's not a break. It is not that, okay, once in a year we go to temple on Janmashtami. Then Anushilanam means there is a consistency, there is a constant. And the Tatas Lakshana, Annavilashita, Shunyam, and Gyankarama. So pleasing to Krishna and performed with the intention to please Krishna. Because sometimes the activity may be pleasing to Krishna even without our desiring to please Krishna. He may be pleased. But that is not Anukullena. And the example is given that how the Chandra and Mustik, when they were fighting with Krishna, then Krishna felt nice. Krishna felt happy about that also. They were apparently beating Krishna, but Krishna apparently was getting a massage. So Krishna was pleased, but still that act is not called bhakti because they were not intending to please Krishna. And similarly, Mother Yashoda is chastising Krishna, which apparently looks like that she is displeasing Krishna, but because her intention is to please Krishna, that is counted in bhakti. And Krishna means Krishna and his personal expansion. Kali and Jarasandha, they chase Krishna with weapons. Yashodamai chasing Krishna with a stick. So what is the purpose for which a person is doing that act? That defines whether it is bhakti or not. So yesterday we were discussing that their act is not included in the territory of bhakti, although they get the benefits of pleasing Krishna. That means Chandra Mustik or Kalevan or anyone, because they are connected with Krishna in some way. And Krishna became pleased, although they never intended to please Krishna. And still, because of that, they attain liberation. But goal of bhakti is not liberation. For a bhakta, the liberation is like a punishment. He is like kind of really, all 5 kinds of mukti, it will come in the beginning of next chapter. But especially that Kavalya, that he says Kavalya, Narakayate, Tridarpur, Akasha Pushpayate. He doesn't like that. And so many of our acharyas pray in that way. So we will have a whole chapter on that. How devotional service surpasses liberation. To understand the true position of devotional service in connection with the feeling of liberation. So Krishna may be pleased or not pleased, but our desire to please Krishna, that is important. Sometimes, like here the example is given, Yashodamai wanted to please Krishna, but then the way she acted, Krishna was not pleased. Krishna bit his lip with his teeth like this, and then he broke that pot. So he was not pleased. He was really upset and really angry. But because she intended to please Krishna, that is bhakti. And Krishna may be pleased, but when the intention is not there, circumstantially, accidentally, Krishna becomes pleased. That is not bhakti. So, in one sense, we may not have any control of whether Krishna is actually pleased by our initiative endeavors or not. We may fully not get assurance or understand. But to understand our desire to please Krishna is with us. That means we intend to please Krishna, we desire to please Krishna, we think of pleasing Krishna. That is in our capacity. And that we do, then that is bhakti. That is Shuddha Bhakti. And of course, we do follow in the footsteps of acharyas. So definitely what we do, Krishna become pleased because it goes through the acharyas. But I'm saying even if we are not like sure in a particular way what will please Krishna the most, sometimes decision making has to happen to do it this way or that way. There are multiple priorities which come up. So we may not be exactly sure whether we should do one thing or other thing. What will please Krishna more? What is Krishna's desire? We might not be able to understand it fully. But to the degree we say that, okay, I'm doing it so that Krishna will be pleased. And in doing that, we definitely get the benefit of practicing pure devotion service. And if we come to know that there is other way by which Krishna will be pleased, that will be that way, then it's fine. Not a problem. Right? If somebody tells you to do something, give some class or sing some arati or do something which we are really not very good at. What we are good at, we may be very eager to do that. But something which is not we are good to do it. For somebody it may be singing, for somebody it may be giving class, for somebody it may be, doing some service. So if we try to do that and we say, okay, because I have been told I will try to do that in the best possible way. So we try to do that to the best of our capacity, that pleases Krishna. And in case Krishna invites someone and somebody else comes and does that better than us, then we have no problem in, becoming renounced and say, okay, let him do that. Anyway, he can do that better than us. So our intention plays the most vital role in the practice of bhakti. In that bhakti, this anukulena, anushilana is there, non-bhakti. But why do we want to please Krishna? See, pleasing Krishna is a part of bhakti, but why do we please Krishna? What do we want after pleasing Krishna? That defines whether it is pure or not pure. Because that is secondary, anya abhilashita. That means we please Krishna for just pleasing Krishna. Like for example, when the demons go, they please Brahma, they please Shiva, they please, na? They please them. But behind their pleasing them, there is a motive. When Hiranyakashipu performed tapasya and Lord Brahma came, then he had a motive and he glorified Lord Brahma with very chosen words, right? But behind all the glorification and all the tapasya which he did for pleasing Brahma, and Brahma became pleased, but behind pleasing Brahma, there was a purpose. So similarly, in bhakti also, we are pleasing Krishna by doing things which he has given in scripture. That is bhakti. But why do we please Krishna? That purpose decides whether it is pure bhakti or it is motivated bhakti. There is some hetu. So we please Krishna just to please Krishna. That's all. Let Krishna be happy. Then what do you want from him? Nothing. You be happy. That's all. That's why you are serving him. You engage me in your service so that I can please you. Okay, I'm pleased now. What do you want? Nothing. I just want to please you more. That's all. So that is why from the very beginning in the practice of Shuddha Bhakti, the material desire do not find any place. And we may have them, but we do not act on them and we do not try to fulfill them. They're there, so we may have to address them within the realm of Krishna consciousness in a Krishna conscious way. So that comes in the Anya Abhilashita that we'll discuss just a little later. So this Sarup Lakshana, Anushilanam means, Anu means following, or it can mean constantly. And Shilanam means behavior. So that behavior which is cultivation by following the predecessor acharyas. And that is through activity. The activity is through body, mind, and words. So all the 64 items, one way of dividing them is into pravarti and nivritti. What is to be done, what is not to be done, and what is to be done with body, what is to be done with mind, what is to be done with words. Like offering prayers, one anga with voka, words, right? Thinking of, remembering Krishna, that is mental pravarti. Offering obeisances, offering a flower, that is bodily pravarti. Similarly, nivritti, one should not over-accumulate. Or there are multiple things which are told. First 10 are pravartis, then next 10 are nivrittis, and then further things are there. So the activity is there with the body, mind, and words. Anu suggests that one should engage himself in the service of the Lord without any interval. Service engagement, always. There must not be any interruption in such progress or devotion service. That is also Anu, means constant. So pravarti, nivritti is body, mind, and word that we discussed yesterday. Yes, read something.
Anushilanam. If he is not continuously engaged in the cultivation of devotional service, it can't be called Uttama Bhakti. It's not pure devotional service.
So again, because you're focusing on pure devotion service, people coming occasionally and offering something to Krishna, praying to Krishna, that's a part of bhakti. But pure bhakti is Anu, Shilanam, that means it's constant, no breaks in that.
Someone might come into the temple and the deity might inspire him and he might put some money in the box just to please the deity, or he might want to sing some bhajan just to please the deity, and then he goes out and does everything else. So that's not pure devotional service. It has to be a systematic cultivation.
That means there are rules and regulations and the understanding behind them and consistency in doing them. That's all there. Anukulena means Krishna should get pleasure from it, and devotee's attitude toward Krishna should be favorable. This we have already discussed. Krishna's expansions, paraphernalia, and pure devotee. Anushilana means constant activity following predecessors. So this is Anukulena. Jiva Goswami gives the 3 examples.
If the king gives instruction to get armies ready, then ministers should understand what need to be done, and the soldiers should be ready with the weapons. If king says that call warriors for a feast, then they do not have to come with their weapons. If the king is going out, means he is going out with his entourage. Continuous service or emotions to Krishna is expansions in paraphernalia with a pleasing attitude towards Krishna. This is Anukulena.
Anukulena, that means there is a conscious thought of how am I going to please Krishna through this. So this conscious thought is the cultivation for a devotee. Because oftentimes in material world, the tendency is to become mechanical. We do same thing every day Mangalarti, every day Narsingh Arti, every day going around Tulsi, every day going to Lord Balaji for darshan, doing 3 parikramas, coming round, sitting at place chanting, 7:30 darshanarti, going for parikrama, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Daya Karo More, Guru Puja, dancing here, dancing there, same circle, and then sitting in the class, waiting for prasadam, and then finally taking prasadam. That's it. So every day we do that, the chance is that to become a little mechanical and feel that they're not bad, at least externally we are doing things, but if you really want to make progress, sadhana bhakti automatically does not lead to bhava bhakti. Sadhana bhakti is practiced with a desire to attain bhava bhakti, then Krishna awards bhava bhakti. It's not a mechanical process. Krishna sees whether we have the desire to attain it. So that is how, that Anukulena, continuous service or emotion to Krishna is a cultivation. Like we don't have it. And often the example is given just like the girl. Earlier, the girls used to get married in young age, 5 years, 6 years, like that. And they had no emotions at that time. So as they grow and they come to kind of teenage, then the boy also has no emotion. He doesn't know what it means to be married, and the girl also doesn't know what. The parents just get them married like that. But then as they come to age, like 10 years, 12 years, then the girl starts serving, the boy and start going to the house and all. So then by that service, the relationship becomes thick. Relationship becomes revealed. So similarly, service is the means by which one gets the realization of the relationship. And consciously being aware, thinking and doing something very consciously, at least we told that in a day, at least sometimes something should be done with full consciousness. सब कुछ automatically होता है, लेकिन कुछ तो कि अभी ये चीज में, ये भगवान आप इधर है, मैं इधर हूँ, ये object है, ये मैं आपकी खुशी के लिए कर रहा हूँ. One thing, two things, otherwise the whole time goes. So many activities happen, but the conscious thought is not there. So we cultivate that. So, yeah.
We should understand that what is the mind of
Yeah. You want to please him. So that's a part of it.
Prabhuji,
Yeah.
so if we what is the success parameter in our devotion? Because if we say that our intention matters in bhakti, whether what Krishna is pleased or not, that is our intention to please Krishna. But our intention it should be to please Krishna. Then how do we define that this is the success has achieved or not? Means because we say Krishna is pleased or not, that is not bhakti, that is not important, but our intention. So what
Huh.
is success?
So success is that if I could do it with my conscious attention to please Krishna, that is success. Yeah, Krishna will be pleased as per Guru Sadhu Shastra, but even though I don't have a confirmation, there may be some other way or other thing by which Krishna may more please perhaps, but I did my best and I did it consciously to please Krishna. What happens in such a consciousness that a person is able to deal with the constant changes which happen in the material world because he knows that I am trying to please Krishna. And if Krishna is wanting to please in some other way by some other person, then I'm okay. I would do my role. That's what the Ashleshava Padaratam verse highlights. Radharani says that if there's some other gopi who can please you more, then I'm ready to become her maidservant. And if she's reluctant to come and please you, then I'm ready to go and plead to her to come and please you. So when a devotee focuses on that, I'm doing this to please Krishna, that Krishna is pleased, then he comes to a level where he can easily deal with the ongoing changes because changes happen. Otherwise, sometimes there is a lot of attachment of my way of doing things. For Krishna only, for Krishna's pleasure only. But my way, that becomes a very strong hold on that. Or my particular service. But when this conscience arises that I'm there to please Krishna, Krishna needs a lot of things. That's not restricted. I can please Krishna by cooking, I can please Krishna by singing, I can please Krishna by cleaning the temple floor, I can please Krishna by going out for book distribution. But Krishna is to please. Let me try to please him. Whatever is within my capacity, whatever is told to me by that. So then a person becomes very stress-free because there are so many ways in which that can be done. And if there is something very specifically told, he understands that this is a more better way of pleasing Krishna than whatever I have planned. Because Krishna directly telling it to be represented, then he's eager to do that part. So that thought, that consciousness that I am doing it for pleasing Krishna, that is success. And gradually it gets revealed, how Krishna is pleased, how much he's pleased, how we can please him more. That is all there. A thought from our side, a conscious thought from our side that yes, I am doing it for pleasing Krishna, that is success. So that applies everywhere. It applies everywhere, right here itself. When we are hearing or when we are speaking, that applies now also. Why are we speaking? Is it because there is a class and then, I will learn it and I mean, so many subtle things go. Bhakti Shastri ho jayega, thoda, Brahman initiation ka chance अच्छा बन जाएगा. ऐसा भी हो सकता है. Most of the people do IDC for first initiation and Bhakti Shastri for Brahman initiation. It's called a standard. It's called a standard. So that is the goal that may happen also, but then, that chance of pleasing Krishna by studying nectar devotion is lost. Right? The chance of glorifying Krishna by speaking about nectar devotion is lost. So it applies everywhere. It's a moment-to-moment process. It applies everywhere in everything. Why do we take prasad? Ultimately, it spreads out everywhere. So we may be in negative zone where we are doing it for sense gratification, we get disturbed if we don't get some item. We may be neutral, just hai, khana hai, kha liya, to wo bhi theek hai. It's not against bhakti. But a conscious devotee can utilize everything in a way to please Krishna. Chatur Veda Shri Bhagavad Prasad Swadanna Triptan Hari Bhakta Sangha Kritveva Triptim Bhajata Sadeva Vande Guru Shri Charanarvinam. So taking prasadam is a full-fledged pure devotional activity. One can become pure devotee just by honoring prasadam in right consciousness and right association. It's there. There, na? Chatur Veda Shri Bhagavad Prasad is Krishna's prasad, Hari Bhakta Sanghan with the Hari Bhaktas I'm taking. My spiritual master will be pleased just by my accepting or taking prasadam with other devotees. And it's a fact. That is, Radha Maharaj has given a very strong lecture of how brahmachari should take prasadam with other brahmacharis. How brahmachari should take prasadam together. There's a very strong lecture on that. And at least 3 times I've personally heard, one-on-one I have heard, in the sense of in meeting or something like that. Like, personally heard this concept of taking prasadam with other devotees. So it may look simple, but it's deeply spiritual activity. Mahacleaning may look simple, but if you remember Gundicha Marjanam while cleaning any part of the temple, then actually it is a very highly potential pure devotional service activity. So pure devotional service begins with the mind. Activity is there, it has its value in some way, but activity in itself is not having value. It is the consciousness which gives the value to the activity. Arjuna was fighting. He's killing people for pleasing Krishna. And Mahaprabhu's many associates were doing many varieties of professions. Many of them were family people with their family and children, wealth and property and all. And they were doing multiple things. They were doing business, they were doing government jobs. But it was not external factors could not cover their position as pure devotees of the Lord. Because sometimes if we are not mature, we give a lot of emphasis on external, the ashrama, the job, the engagement. So we can definitely give an emphasis on what is anukul and how it is anukul and what is not so favorable. It's true. Teaching job may give one more time than a software job. That's in general, I'm telling. But then it is not that somebody doing software job cannot become a very exalted devotee. I know many people who are in software also, but very committed, dedicated, and they are at a position where they just have to manage some people and things, and they are like fully there. I give the example of Rasvigra Prabhu, that director. It's a big position, but then he's utilizing it and just practicing such intense devotion service. So because it is intention based, that is why it is ahetuki and apratiyata. Because intention is in our hand. Ahetuki. It's up to us whether we keep the hetu or not. Nobody can force us. And apratiyata. Because it is with intention, which is in our control, it is apratiyata. It never gets broken. Had it been depending on any other factor, it would not have been ahetuki and apratiyata. So that's why when we desire to please Krishna through any of the service we are doing, that is a success of our practice of devotion service. How the chanting became, that is one thing, whether I slept or not. But whether I desire to please Krishna through my chanting, whether the thought came, whether that feeling came, or Radharani, oh Krishna, please engage me in your service, as Prabhupada told us, it's simple. That is a standard. I may not have slept for even 1 minute. I may have chanted 16 or 1 hour, 45 minutes, 23 seconds. Without drinking. But whether I desire to please Krishna by chanting or not, that will define whether it's an act of pure devotion service or not. So activity in itself is not pure devotion service. The intention behind the activity makes it pure devotion service or Agya Sukriti. Both are same. Agya Sukriti, what happens? Same thing is done, but without a very conscious effort. So the moment we lose that conscious touch, it becomes Agya Sukriti. It is not harmful, but it gives Agya Sukriti. Agya Sukriti means what? It is like a labor working for 12 hours and getting 600 rupees. And pure devotion service is like, being a high paid consultant, 10 minutes of appointment and doctor writes OPD, 5 minutes, 1200 rupees. Yeah, now I have good experience of medical line. Ruby Hall you go, just 5 minutes the doctor will meet you and 1200 rupees payment. And here 8 hours, 10 hours of work and 600 rupees. So then it's good. It's good and any with activity, but what it will pay us, that will depend on with what intention we try to do that. So Tatas selection, Anya Abhilashita Shunyam, Anya means other, Abhilasha means desire, and Ita means motive. And Sunya means zero. So this is little technical thing. Yeah.
One online question is there.
Online question.
While performing seva, we are many times not conscious of Krishna, rather focused on authority instructions and seva details. So is it pleasing to Krishna?
To the degree we are conscious of the authority who gave us the service and we are trying to please him, it will be counted as pure devotion service. And to the degree we took it, and then we forget the authority, forget the instruction, and forget the pleasure of Krishna also, then it becomes Agya Sukriti activity. As simple as. If you remember, that authority has given me, even if we are not able to see a very full-fledged connection that is told by Krishna, but at least we say, manager has told or somebody has told, and we do it with some affection, not bola hai to karna hi padega, nahi to nikal denge. So then that attitude is not favorable. So as long as it is favorable attitude, Prabhuji ne bola hai, kar le, kya hai? Prabhuji thoda khush ho jayenge. So to the degree it is done, even for the pleasure of the one who is given the service, it becomes a pure devotion. Even though that service might be his need, वो मैनेजर है उसका नीड है, लेकिन आपने उस सेवा को ये सोच के किया कि हाँ, let me try to please him through that. Krishna becomes pleased by that, and it becomes pure devotion service. So, and then as we grow, we see that okay, he is also trying to please Krishna. Ultimately, that service is not his service. It is not telling कि आके मेरा massage करो, कुछ करो. It's telling, go here, get this, go with this devotee to hospital or whatever, something of that sort. That's for service of devotee. And a pure devotee, even if he tells and says, come and massage me, that also then his body is utilizing Krishna's service. So even that is pure service to Krishna. There's no problem in that. But for ordinary people, their service and Krishna's service may differ. Their personal service, because they have not become fully purified and spiritualized. But somebody very exalted, his personal service also is fully service to Krishna. And it's better than service to Krishna because that is Tadiya. That is Krishna devotee we are serving. But at our stage, we don't tell anyone to do anything for us personally. We tell there's a service, this department needs this service, and do that. So that makes it pure. So there are two things. One thing is that Anya Abhilasha means desire for Bhukti, Mukti and Siddhi should not be there. Desire for personal sense gratification, liberation, or attaining perfection. This will be described in detail in the characteristics of pure devotion service. Prabhupada goes at great length to describe about how the sense gratification and liberation or mystic siddhis cannot make one happy. So there he goes. And ita, abhilashita means desireness. It is described, desireness. That means there are basic desires. Basic desire for survival, eating. And the example is given like a person is attacked. And then he may say, please, Krishna, please save me. So that is not his base desire. He doesn't want to live for sense gratification for thousands of years. That's not his desire. But some danger has come. So there is a natural instinct by which body is maintained, right? So circumstantially praying for those things is not outside the paradigm of pure devotion service. That includes cases like Gajendra praying to the Lord, or Draupadi praying to the Lord for protection. So they also get included in that realm. So Anya Abhilashita Shunyam basically means that the desireness for fulfilling material desire or desireness for sense gratification should not be there. The basic desires are given permission. Basic desire for eating and sleeping and defending. Those desires are they are accepted. But desireness means to have desires for either Bhukti, Mukti, Siddhi or for any other kind of sense gratification. That should not be there. So it is not Anya Abhilasha Shunyam. That means all desires are not made zero. But the desireness, that means the motivation for the desires to enjoy through Bhukti, Mukti or Siddhi, that is told to be zero. So this is difference between desire and desireness. So basic desires are there because as long as the body is there, there are basic desires. No? When you feel hungry, then you want to eat. So that is not against the principle of pure devotion service to eat, but one should eat prasadam. One get tired, one want to sleep. Sometimes one is so tired. The body is so tired that sleeping looks like, just like Muchukunda. Or Muchukunda, and Lord asked any benediction. Indra asked, and he wanted to sleep because somebody is tired after service. He wanted to sleep. But Krishna took his sleep in the spirit of pure devotion service. In one lecture, Radha Maharaj quotes that, Prabhupada says, good intelligence means to get sufficient sleep. I don't know from where he quoted, but I did hear in his lecture, in the Muchukunda section, he said. Good intelligence means to get sufficient rest. Because oftentimes we are imbalanced and not able to make it. So the basic instinct, the basic desires for maintenance of body, they are not banned. They are okay. As long as they don't become the goal of life. As we say, that we eat to live, not that we live to eat only. Otherwise it becomes sense gratification. Jivara lalasa say, iti uti dhyaya, Krishna udar parayana, Krishna nahi paya. So desire for eating is okay. ठीक है, prasad hai, bhuk lagi hai, kha liya, ठीक है, not a problem. But then if that becomes the goal of life, where will you get Mahaprasadam? What is there in Govinda? And send an employee to get something in the room, nobody knows. I can't go to Govinda. Govinda can't come here and then, through some via media. So these things are not part of pure devotion service. Right? So this is Anya Abhilashita, and Bhukti Mukti Siddhi, Prabhupada talks a lot of time, and he'll further talk also in that next chapter. And this also not wrong with having material desires. Bhukti Kami, Mukti Kami, Siddhi Kami, that we already know. Mentality to desire and mentality to enjoy money, sex, and social prestige. That means Bhog Aishwarya Prasakta Nam Taya Aparta Chetasam or Puja La Pratishtha. So Bhog Aishwarya Prasakta Nam Taya Aparta Chetasam. If one runs after Bhog and Aishwarya, woman and money, then Taya Aparta Chetasam. Then this consciousness is kidnapped. And then one cannot do samadhi, one cannot focus on Krishna. So then there is mukti. Mukti kami because you want to negate material illusion and merge into an impersonal spiritual state, free from anxiety. Shanti, shanti, shanti. That's also desire. Desire to get free from all suffering. That is mukti kami. So even devotee sometimes when he's under pain, as we told, sometimes he may desire relief from pain. But that's a circumstantial desire. That's not the goal of his life. And later on, as he, become again strong, then he again desire, my dear Lord, whatever position you want to keep me in, you keep me, as long as I can remember you. A sickly body with remembrance of Krishna is better than a healthy body with forgetfulness of Krishna. So it takes time, but people come on terms with that. And I saw it graphically happening with this Parashampu's daughter. I mean, she must have asked this question 100 times, why this is happening to me? Because it doesn't happen, immediately one doesn't get like it happens and just accept. But the beauty of the devotee is that because of the association of devotees and the mercy of the spiritual master, one comes to accept it. And then one becomes grateful for that. So it is a process. It may not happen instantly, it may not happen immediately, but one takes his own time to come on terms with that. When some terminal sickness-related things happen. So similarly, sometimes there's a severe pain, appendix pain, or kidney stone pain, and a person may really be very much suffering and may desire relief from such pain and may take a painkiller or go to hospital, whatever. So he's not, this relief from pain is not like a mukti kami, that is not desiring that, I will merge in the impersonal Brahmajyoti away from all suffering. This is a circumstantial thing. His mind is overwhelmed with that and he will desire that. And then some may be like His Holiness Kadam Kanan Maharaj, who did not take any painkiller and tolerated the pain. His Grace Bhaktavatsal Prabhu gave a class about him in Kunjiveri temple, very inspiring class. So some may be like that. And his body will shake because pain will be so immense. And he said, no, I want to experience that pain so that I can remember Krishna. But for some, that level may not be there. And in that extreme pain, they may not be able to remember Krishna. Rather, they may take some solution for the pain and focus on Krishna more. So it depends on people's capacity. Some may take that way, some may not take that way. But either way, the goal is not to just, get relief from pain forever. Pain or no pain, the goal is to remember Krishna. And Siddhi Kami, the mystic yogi who, want to attain siddhis of different kinds. So similarly, a devotee may aspire for attaining, some skills or some talent and perfect something. But he has to keep a check. Why am I doing that? Am I doing it for pleasing Krishna? And am I really pleasing Krishna through that? Or am I doing it just because it is suiting my nature or it is just because of some other reason? So one has to be a little careful in that. Srila Prabhupada wrote multiple letters. In one letter he wrote to His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, what is the use of learning Bengali? Just preach in English and spend your time chanting Hare Krishna. So there's one letter like that. And another letter also which he wrote later, and he says that yes, learning the local language is helpful in connecting with people and it can, help you in preaching. So even when we take things from Prabhupada, we have to really take a bigger paradigm and understand that what is the context. On one hand, he is emphasizing that it is not necessary to learn many skills and all. One can reach with whatever talent one has. On the other hand, if for the sake of preaching one can learn something, that is not restricted also. That is not banned. So bhakti is a very, broad path. It's not a very narrow path. The narrowness is there in the intention to please Krishna, but that intention to please Krishna might take several ways, right? Like you find in Mahaprabhu's followers, some are very rich, some are very wealthy people. Advaita Acharya has multiple houses. He has one at Shantipur, one at Navadip, and one at his native place in Bangladesh also. And similarly, Shivanand Sen, he had a lot of money. And then there were other people like Shuklambar Brahmachari or Sridhar Kulavicha. They're nothing. But they either with everything or either with nothing. Their focus was to please Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Mahaprabhu took that as the essence of their offering. He did not say, hey, Sridhar Kulavicha, why don't you do business and become like Shivanand Sen? And he didn't tell Shivanand Sen, or Pundrik Vidyanidhi, you are in so much opulence, what is the use of such opulence? No. So we should see that with what level of opulence, what level of, services, we can focus on remembering and pleasing Krishna. That is something which individually we have to see, and it evolves, it grows. At one point of time, something which might be an obstacle for us in practice of bhakti and might be leading to forgetfulness of Krishna, at some point of time, that same thing may not affect us in the same way. It may just be a routine thing of that. And depends on the people also. For example, sometimes some brahmachari may come from a background where they have never experienced flight with it. So for them, first time they go in flight, everything is like, the chanting is, they're so mesmerized with that flight experience, how, the staircase, escalators and frisking and, all those things which are there in the airport, they're kind of shocked. And then flight and it takes off and people are sitting in the window seat and looking what's happening. So for some time, for somebody flying first time, it might be a very thrilling experience and one might not be so Krishna conscious. Correct. But then same thing or same person or some other person who has had that experience earlier, now for him it's just a duty. Just sit and put earphones and hear a lecture and let the flight fly. Nothing to look at window. First time you see the clouds from top, it's quite exciting. The clouds look smooth from the below. No? From the top, they really look like palaces and big thing. They look really castles. So then, you feel after that, kya hai? So it might be, there are phases in devotee life when they feel tempted or excited about something. So one should not kind of judge that as an overall situation of a devotee. What the devotee's real aspirations are, that defines whether he's practicing pure devotion service or not. Circumstantially, in certain situation, one might go a little here and there. One might even commit a mistake. One might even have a slip also. So that's why Krishna appreciates Sudurajaro Bhajate Mamanani. But doesn't get distracted. Accidentally it happened. Mind tricked him because his mind is not yet fully fixed in Krishna consciousness. So the path of sadhana bhakti should be very clearly understood that it has its own space, but it has no space as far as the destination and the process is concerned. It doesn't say that, okay, because I can't follow something, that principle is wrong. Nowadays that is coming as the fourth regulative principle. Is it really practical in this age? Is it practical or not practical? That is the principle. Prabhupada told it hundreds of times. Sex only for procreation. That is the standard for Gaudiya Vaishnava, Prabhupada's followers. There is no second standard, as Prabhupada advocated. Now, one may not be able to follow it. That's a different thing. He may say that I will come to that standard. I may have my shortcoming. But one should not challenge the standard. Similarly, for a brahmachari, obedience, surrender, discipline. These are all qualities of a brahmachari, right? To be like a menial servant. So yes, we may have issues because of our upbringing, culture and all. Principle one should not challenge. How can a person be like this? How can a brahmachari? No, brahmachari by nature is like that. Prabhupada, whenever he talked of brahmachari, two things. Fully obedient, rendering menial service. These are the two qualities Prabhupada highlights for brahmachari in multiple quotes. So one should not challenge the principle, although one might not be able to follow it. Then one will make advancement. But if one challenges the principle itself, then one's advancement gets stuck up. So one may gradually elevate. One may be at whatever level, gradually can come. But you should know, this is ideal and this is right. I will gradually rise up. And Bhakti gives that space. Krishna talks about that in 11, 20, 27 and 28. That my devotee, although he has understood the sense gratification is all source of misery, but still is not able to give it up. That is the previous conditions pull him. And he succumbs. But after that he doesn't say. And he says, I am ready to suffer in any way Krishna wants me to. I'm willing to suffer, I'm ready to suffer. But in all situations, I will not give up my service to Krishna. Determined for that. And that makes Krishna happy. ठीक है, हो गया लेकिन छोड़ना नहीं. And he's not justifying that I did it, Krishna. And he's not like, justifying or नाम नो बलाद यस्य ही पाप बुद्धि. ठीक है, ये गलती हो गया और चार माला कर देंगे. No, नाम नो बलाद यस्य ही पाप बुद्धि. That is not there. He ready to suffer. I have done this mistake, come what may. It doesn't matter, I don't mind. But I will continue my practice of bhakti. So that is the determination which pleases Krishna. That is why the bhakti mukti siddhi, although the traces may be seen in a devotee, but over a period of time, as the devotee gains transcendental knowledge and he renders service to the Lord, these propensities go away. As we say in the beginning, devotees come for different purposes, but they become more purified and they come to the real goal, real purpose for which they have come. Bhakti mukti siddhi kami sakali ashant Krishna bhakta nishkam atayeva shant. So as you are telling, the shanti is in proportion to the nishkam. To that degree we don't have material desire. We have material desire, then within Krishna consciousness also we will have problems. So he says here, if one has any personal desire, material, philosophical, or mystic, he will be ashanta, ultimately frustrated, because he will see himself as the central object of satisfaction. This egocentric concept is in itself illusory and therefore ultimately frustrating. I am the center. I want to enjoy. I want to become liberated. I want to achieve mystic siddhis. So I is the center in all three. But here I want to serve. I want to please Krishna. So that the center changes, and that is why a person experiences. So the Bhoga Tyag, which we discussed earlier, and the Pa, Fa, Ba, Bha, Ma, the hard work, you see here, how many bricks is carrying? Foam, bondage, fear, and finally mrityu or death. So these are the two cycles. Either we love Krishna or we love someone else. Love or lust. Jnana karma dhyanavritam, jnana, impersonal philosophy, speculation, karma, fruitive activities. Adi means etc., which includes like artificial detachment. Yesterday we were saying that too much artificial restraint and restriction on the senses will make the senses very rebellious. And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj says that one may control all the senses, control on the tongue is most difficult, right? So, but if one artificially control, he says in that 11th canto, he says about how the tongue is the most difficult one. If all others are controlled, tongue is not controlled, then the tongue will ultimately make all others also uncontrolled. But our process of controlling tongue is by chanting Hare Krishna and by accepting prasadam, not in artificial way. So artificial detachment, mystic yoga, astrology, they should not cover over. They should not become the prime thing. Our faith in them should not exceed the faith in the process of bhakti. So they may be used as tools at times, like devotee also. No? Tribang Monpur took that whole yoga course, video recorded course, how to do Surya Namaskar, how to do this, that. So they may take, but that is not the thinking that now this yoga course will help me more than my chanting of Hare Krishna. That is not the understanding. Similarly, astrology, sometimes under guidance for certain specific cases, a devotee may refer to astrology for marriage, muhurta or something. But if a devotee says, मेरा लाइफ में ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है, मैं देखता हूँ ब्रह्मचर्य रहना है, गृहस्थ रहना है, हाथ में क्या लिखा है? अरे हाथ में तो क्या लिखा है? हाथ में लिखने से नहीं होता है आश्रम का. It changes. Our Adi Shyam Prabhu in Kanpur, some of you know. His father is a bona fide astrologer. He had done a course in astrology from Banaras Hindu University. So I had gone to his home. I asked him, आप तो astrologer है, तो घर के बाहर ही बड़ा सा बोर्ड लगा हुआ है, Actually, the professional astrologer, बाहर बड़ा बोर्ड है, इधर लगा रहता है ना, क्या क्या समस्या है, नौकरी नहीं मिल रही है, शादी नहीं हो रही है, so could you predict that your son will be a brahmachari? I asked him. He said no, because when you start serving Lord Vishnu, then the astrological calculation doesn't work. It's a fact. It is so, and then his own daughter, she has to go through so much of turmoil. And I said, you're an astrologer, you should have seen everything. But astrologers, they may know something, they don't know everything. They may know indications, and that also true astrologer is a devotee, actually. He's revealed those things from within the heart. Just like Mahaprabhu is going to the astrologer and he's chanting the Gopal mantra and praying for revelation. That's a true astrologer, not just like calculations. So detachment, yoga, fruitive activity, they should not cover over. We may do those things like Shraddha we do, or we do certain rituals when we go home, sometimes in certain, ceremonies. So we do that, but not with faith, not thinking that these rituals are the essence of life. And this thing is demonstrated in the case of Bharat Maharaj also. He did many sacrifices, but he never thought that these sacrifices are, higher than bhakti. He just thought that these sacrifices are part of my devotional service because I am offering it to the Supreme Lord. He saw Indra, Vayu, them as the limbs of the Lord. And he did it through the Ritvik Brahmanas. He said, you do that. And he never desired any fruitive result from that. Swarga Prapti, Putra Prapti. He never desired any fruitive result. So similarly, devotee, externally, he may get involved in rituals if there's a need according to time and place, circumstance. But he never had faith in them. Not that they feel that, by doing this, my bhakti will advance. Not like that. The bhakti is supremely independent. Bhakti is dependent on the mercy. It does those things as a matter of rituals, not otherwise. And similarly, the philosophical speculation, he may do philosophical understanding of what different acharyas have written, what are their commentaries. Because acharyas also write so many things. And His Holiness Shivaram Maharaj write books on some concept which acharyas may just mention. And then there's a whole book written on that. And sometimes some concept, like for example, Krishna goes to Mathura, and he says that I'll come back. Parso, there's a village called Parso. I'll come back day after tomorrow. So does he come back or not come back? So Acharya say, aisa kaise ho sakta hai? Krishna is absolute truth. He cannot tell lie. So he has to come back. And then others say, Arey, but we know the way we know in Krishna book that Krishna has stayed in Mathura, he went to Dwarka, and did not come back. So then the Acharyas go at great length and all that, to prove that Krishna spoke truth. He did come back. So he made another set of Brajavasis, totally another set of invisible Brajavasis, and everyone there. The entire Braja was duplicated. And Krishna came back. And in one form, Krishna remained in Mathura and did Mathura, Dwarka, Leela and all. One form, he did come back in Vrindavan. So one form in Vrindavan is with Krishna and one form in Vrindavan is not with Krishna, with the same Vrindavan. So, the acharyas get into those details, which is really exciting. So that kind of understanding is wonderful. And they have quotation from Bhagavatam to prove that. But anything resulting in impersonal philosophy, anything resulting in the proof that Lord is not merciful, Lord is not kind, Lord is cruel, or Lord is not all powerful, these kind of speculation understanding, they are all waste of time. They are not favorable for bhakti. Right? Like Christians, they say, oh, God is very merciful, but is not all powerful. Sometimes Satan becomes more powerful, like that. So not like that. That is not Bhakta's understanding. So karmadi also refer to dan, tap or yajna. And we can see that people trying to do this thing perfectly have not been able to be successful in bhakti. Like Dan, Nraga, he became a, lizard. Ravana did tapasya, Hiranyakashipu did tapasya. Yajna, sages and Naimisharanya. Dal and Nal and Damayanti, their name comes in Mahabharata for being more charitable than even when Maharaj Yudhishthira, or as charitable as Maharaj Yudhishthira. But because they were not doing it for pleasing Krishna, so Nal and Damayanti are not glorified. That charity did not lead to devotion service. So Yajna, Dana, Tapa, if done without connection to Krishna, then they are no good. They just simply bind us in the reaction of fruitive activities. That. And then finally, Sarvopadi Vinirmuktam Tatparatvena Nirmalam Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhaktir Uchate. So this was there, and now we go for the next part. Don't mix up karma with bhakti, jnana with bhakti, and it's contaminated. No desire for fruitive activities, philosophical speculation, simply how to satisfy Krishna. That is bhakti. Simple thing. 2 plus 2 is 4. That is simpler than to say 2 plus 2 is what not. 3.5, 4.9, 8.7. There are innumerable possibilities. For 2 plus 2, what it is not. But what it is, there is only one true right answer. 2 plus 2 is 4. So similarly, pure bhakti means the only desire is, how can I please you, my Lord? That's it. How can I please you? Then no other consideration. And whatever it takes to please Krishna, everybody ready to do that. And Prabhupada said, if killing the relative will please Krishna, Arjuna is ready to do that. I mean, it's very, Prabhupada is speaking in those Bhagavad Gita lectures. If killing the relative, then Arjuna says, yes, I will do that. So that is simple. Pure bhakti means, my dear Lord, how can I please you? How can I serve you? Then it has its own expansion. Pleasing Krishna means pleasing Guru. Pleasing Guru means pleasing Vaishnavas. Pleasing Vaishnavas means serving them. Serving them means, pleasing them, hearing from them. All those varieties come up. But in a sense, it's very simple. How can I please Krishna? So it's a temporary sudden desire, as we told. That desire is not his nature. He's not aspiring for that. That is under circumstances, he is asked for that. Therefore, superficial fleeting desires or desire for self-preservation do not exclude one from pure devotional service. And thus, pure devotional service can be executed in the stage of sadhana bhakti. The sadhana is also the sadhana bhakti of pure devotional service. It is not that we are practicing something now and it will become something later. No, it's a mango. Green mango, yellow mango. Mango is mango. That mango only will become ripened. So the sadhana is also of pure devotional service. Shuddha bhakti ka hi sadhana hai. That only will ripen into bhava bhakti later. So So this is karma adhyanavritam. One should not get covered by that. A devotee may do something not strictly according in the category of devotion service out of consideration of public sentiment. So people don't become hostile and thus make it harder for devotees to preach. But if we think that if I don't do some material pious activity, then I cannot achieve bhakti or some bad will come to me, that is against the principle of pure devotion service. So this is again the Sarup and Sattva section. Actually, it is based on ninefold devotional process of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smanam. And others are Sthana Sthita Shrutigatam Tanva Gunobhir. Wherever you are, whichever Varna ashram, just be situated there and try to hear about Krishna. And try to employ your body, mind, words in Krishna's service. This is Krishna consciousness movement to give a chance everyone to hear about crosses. And when one has heard very nicely about Krishna, then he can speak, then he must speak. Cannot remain without speaking. That is the result of Shravana. One who has heard nicely, he must preach. So pure devotion service, pure intention, guided activity, not ideal meditation, and use everything in Krishna. So we come to next session now. Characteristics of pure devotion service. Okay. Yeah. Chapter 1 from Nectar of Devotion. So, Sri Rupa Goswami starts this section by saying that Shri Bhagavatasya Triya Skandecha Ahetuki Avyavita Ya Bhakti Purushottame. That Ahetuki and Apratihata Bhakti to the Supreme Lord is being described here. And then he quotes this verse for which Prabhupada has given the translation here. Salokya Sarishti Salokya Sarishti Samipya Sarupya Ketavam Apiyuta Diyamanana Grananti Vina Mat Sevanam Jana. So this is being quoted by Srila Prabhupada here. Yeah. So read it. We will add some verses from Nectar Bhakti Samar Sindhu as and when needed. Mike kiske paas padho?
In Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd canto, 29th chapter, verse 12 and 13, Srila Kapila Dev, while instructing his mother, has given the following characteristics of pure devotion service. My dear mother, those who are my pure devotees and who have no desire for material benefit or philosophical speculation have their minds so much engaged in my service that they are never interested in asking me for anything except to be engaged in that service. They do not even beg to live in my abode with me. There are 5 kinds of liberation, namely to become one with the Lord, to live.
Yeah.
With the Supreme Lord on the same planet, to have the same features as the Lord, to enjoy the same opulence as the Lord, and to live as a companion of the Lord. A devotee, ought to speak of rejecting material sense gratification, does not even want any of the 5 kind of liberation. He is satisfied simply by discharging loving service to the Lord. That is the characteristics of pure devotion.
So that he already described Salokya Samipya Sarishti. And of course, he does not want Kavalya. But even these he does not want if there is no chance of service. He prefers service rather than just acting. For service, if we get this kind of liberation, then he accepts. Yeah.
In the verse taken by Kapila Deva from Srimad Bhagavatam, the actual position of pure devotee is described, and the primary characteristics of pure devotion service are also defined. Further characteristics of devotion service are described by Rupa Goswami with evidence from different scriptures. He states that there are 6 characteristics of pure devotion service, which are as follows. Pure devotion service brings immediate relief from all kinds of material distress. Pure devotion service is beginning of all auspiciousness. Pure devotion service automatically puts one in transcendental pleasure. pure divine service is rarely achieved. Those in pure divine service deride even the conception of liberation. Pure divine service is the only means to attract Krishna.
So this is the 17th verse in Bhakti Samra Sindhu, which says, Kleshagni Subhada Moksha Laguta Kris Sudurlabha Sandra Ananda Visheshatma Shri Krishna Akarshani Cha Sa. The unique characteristics of bhakti are its ability to destroy suffering, bestowal of auspiciousness, its disregard for liberation, its rarity of attainment, its manifestation of concentrated bliss, and its ability to attract Krishna. So then he goes on discussing Tatrashe Klesha Ghanatvam. The first topic is the ability to destroy all suffering will be discussed. And then he further talks about that 3 points. Pardon?
Relief from material distress.
Yeah, but Krishna is all attractive.
Krishna is all attractive, but pure divine service attracts even him. This means that pure divine service is even transcendentally stronger than Krishna himself, because it is Krishna's internal potency.
Yeah.
What to tell him? Relief from material distress.
This is Kleshagni.
In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that one should surrender unto him, giving up all other engagements. The Lord also gives his words there that he will protect surrendered souls from the reaction of all sinful activities. Srila Rupa Goswami says that the distress from sinful activities are due both to the sins themselves and to sins committed in our past lives. Generally, one commits sinful due to ignorance, but ignorance is not excuse for evading the reaction sinful activities. Sinful activities are of two kinds, those which are mature and those which are not mature.
So, Prabhupada start with that, the verse Sarva Dharman Parityaja, Mamekam Sharanam Rajam, Aham Tvam Sarupape Mokshishami Mahasucha. And then he says that the distress from sinful activities are both this life sin and the sins which are committed in past life. And the original cause of sin is ignorance. But although the cause of sin is ignorance, but ignorance is not an excuse for evading the reaction. So, sinful, go ahead.
The sinful activities for which we are suffering at present moment are called mature. The many sinful activities stored within us for which we have not yet suffered are considered immature. For example, a man may have committed criminal acts but not yet been arrested for them. Now, as soon as he is detected, arrest is awaiting him. Similarly, for some of our sinful activities, we are awaiting distress in the future. And for others which are mature, we are suffering at the present moment.
So you know that cycle? I think awesome. We'll draw it. Maybe tomorrow we'll draw it, or it might be there in the PPT itself. So the sinful activities produce two kind of results. That is, one is prarabdha and one is aprarabdha. Prarabdha means that which has come in this life. Aprarabdha means that which is stored. And along with that, it creates a proclivity that is called kutam. Sinful activity result in this life. Prabhupada will give examples for that. Suffering in this life and a proclivity which continues for many more lifetimes. And that proclivity, the subtle impression, kutam, it turns into bijam. Bijam means a very conscious desire get manifested. And that desire further turns into sinful activity, papa. Then it leads to suffering. For example, because of, engaging into lustful activities, a lusty propensity is created in the mind, which continues life after life, because we have gone through different species. So that lustful propensity is there, the attraction for opposite sex. So that is kutam. And when it takes a specific desire, then it becomes bijam. And then one engages in the sinful act, then it becomes papa. It's a gross activity. So this cycle continues. Why does it happen? Because there's an ignorance of the original love. Love only turns into lust. Prabhupada says love is like milk, lust is like curd. It turns into that. It's a transformation of love only. So the ignorance of relationship with the Lord, that leads to lustful mentality. That is ignorance, original ignorance. And that lustful mentality, then it further perpetrates into many other ways, leading to many different wrong activities and then suffering because of that. So this is about prarabdha and aprarabdha. Read further.
There is a chain of sinful activities and their concomitant distresses. And the conditioned soul is suffering life after life due to the sins. He is suffering in the present life the results of sinful activities from his past life. And he is meanwhile creating further sufferings for his future life. Mature sinful activities are exhibited if one is suffering from some chronic disease, if one is suffering from some legal implications, if one is born in the low and degraded family, or if one is uneducated or very ugly.
So these are like at the time of birth also one can see how one's past life was. So if one is suffering from chronic disease or legal implication or born in a low degraded family or one is ugly or uneducated, these four things are seen as a sign of prarabdha, bad past, I mean sinful activities in the past. And then there's further things. What happens in the present?
There are many results of past sinful activities for which we are suffering at the present moment. And we may be suffering in the future due to our present sinful activities. But all these reactions to sinful deeds can immediately be stopped if one takes to Krishna consciousness. As evidence for this, Rupa Goswami quotes from Srimad Bhagavatam 11th Canto 14 chapter verse 19. This verse is in the connection with Lord Krishna's instruction to Uddhava, where he says, "My dear Uddhava, devotional service unto me is just like a blazing fire, which can burn into ashes unlimited fuel supplied to it." The purport is that, as the blazing fire can burn any amount of fuel to ashes, so devotional service to the Lord in Krishna consciousness can
Burn any amount of fuel.
can burn up all the fuel of sinful activities. For example, in the Gita, Arjuna thought that fighting was a sinful activity, but Krishna engaged him on the battlefield under his order. And so the fighting became devotional service. Therefore, Arjuna was not subjected to any sinful reaction.
Yeah, so sinful reaction get destroyed as Prabhupada quotes from Uddhav Gita here. So all the reaction to sinful deeds can immediately be stopped if one takes to Krishna consciousness. That the result of papam, sinful activities, they are the result of that is destroyed. And further it goes that actually Prabhupada has kind of, because it's a free flow translation. So in essence, he described how the aprarabdha, prarabdha, bijam, kutam, all are destroyed. And if you read the book, then it gives more systematically verse-wise. For each there is a verse says how the kutam is destroyed, how the bijam is destroyed, how the papam is destroyed, the sinful activity, and then prarabdha is destroyed, aprarabdha is destroyed, and how the avidya is also destroyed. So for each one of them, there are particular verses being quoted from Srimad Bhagavatam or Padma Purana, which says, especially this verse from this one. He quotes this verse from Padma Purana, very famous verse, I think. I don't know whether it's a memorable verse or not. Padma Puranecha aprarabdha phalam papam kutam bijam phalonmukham kramemeva praliyeta Vishnu bhakti ratatmanam. Padma Purana says that for those engaged in bhakti to Vishnu, step by step, the aprarabdha, which is the result of the sinful action, that then kutam, bijam, and prarabdha, which is already manifested, they all are destroyed. Kramena, in that order, they are destroyed. So, actually, there is a lot of discussion bhakti destroy prarabdha or not. But in this particular translation and book, there's like multiple times mentioned that bhakti destroy prarabdha. He gives example also for that. This additional quotation from Padma Purana makes clear the fact that bhakti destroys prarabdha reactions. The word papam is the noun which is modified with aprarabdha phalam, kutam, bijam, and phalonmukham. So phalonmukham means prarabdha reaction, commenced reaction. The sinful reaction presently being experienced in the life are as happiness and suffering. And bijam means a reaction which is about to become prarabdha, about to be experienced, which is in the form of impression. Kuta refers to sinful reaction which are about to become bija. Aprarabdha phalam means those reactions which are not prarabdha, they are not experienced in this life, but later will cause kutam, bijam, and papam. So they have been acquired from without beginning, anadis, ananta. And then finally says that Kramena means the reactions are destroyed gradually from recent to previous. From Prarabdha, that's manifested to Bija, to Kuta, and to Aprarabdha, that is stored. So there's a lot of discussion on that part. If you have any confusion whether Bhakti destroys or not destroys, then it can be researched. Kleshagni is fully experienced at least at the stage of Nishtha and further. So that is why sometimes practicing devotees feel that we are practicing, but why that misery is all not gone. Whether we are practicing pure devotion service or not, but pure devotion service practices itself has stages, na? Ado Shraddha, Tata Sadhu Sangata, Bhajan Kriya, Anartha Nivrati, Nishtha. So when Nishtha comes, that time one becomes fully liberated and all kinds of Papa, Bijam, Kutam. But the effect of aparadhas still remain, as we know that cycle. Anartha Nivrati, how it happens. So Anartha Nivrati is a all pervading cycle. It is not that Anartha Nivrati is one junction where you cross and all anarthas are gone. No. There are, Sukruto Utpad anarthas, Duskruto Utpad anarthas, Bhakti Utpad anarthas, and Aparadha Utpad anarthas. So then these anarthas, Aparadha anarthas, they continue till Prema. But major load, in some lecture purposes, 75% of the condemnation is removed. Nashta prayeshu avadreshu. Nityam bhagavad sevaya bhagavatir nashta prayeshu avadreshu nityam bhagavad sevaya bhagavatir uttam sloke bhaktir bhavati neshtake. So nishta bhakti. So that one can experience Kleshagni and Shubhadra. Till then, one's body, mind still experiences that because the reactions are coming. But still, his practice of pure devotion service will not be obstructed. That is the beauty. Even at an early stage, the reactions, if a devotee is well situated, he has proper Shraddha and his proper guidance, then his bhakti will not get disturbed when the different kind of distresses may come. That right. Read ahead.
Srila Rupa Goswami quotes another verse from the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 33rd chapter, verse 6, in which Devhuti addresses her son Kapildev and says, "My dear Lord, there are 9 different kinds of devotional service, beginning from hearing and chanting. Anyone who hears about your pastimes, who chants about your glories, who offers your obeisances, who thinks of you, and in this way executes any of the 9 kinds of devotional service, even if he is born in a family of dog eaters, the lowest grade of mankind, becomes immediately qualified to perform sacrifices. As such, how is it possible that anyone actually engaged in devotional service in full Krishna consciousness has not become purified? It is not possible. One who is engaged in Krishna consciousness and devotional service has without doubt become freed from all contaminations of material sinful activities. Devotional service therefore has the power to actually nullify all kinds of reactions to sinful deeds. A devotee is nevertheless always alert not to commit any sinful activities. This is his specific qualification as a devotee. Thus, Srimad Bhagavatam states that by performing devotional service, a person who was born even in a family of dog eaters may become eligible to take part in the performances of the ritualistic ceremonies recommended in the Vedas. It is implicit in this statement that a person born in the family of dog eaters is generally not fit for performing yajna or sacrifice. The priestly caste in charge of performing these ritualistic ceremonies recommended in the Vedas is called the Brahman order. Unless one is Brahman, he cannot perform these ceremonies.
So this example is quoted that how the prarabdha actually get destroyed. Because prarabdha one has got birth in the family of dog eaters. But still, by following the process of devotional service, then he gets elevated to a position where he becomes eligible to perform sacrifices by the, like Sanatana Goswami says, like a bell metal mixed with mercury, then it becomes gold. Similarly, when one gets initiated by a bona fide Vaishnava Guru, then one becomes eligible for performing sacrifices. So he does not become a Brahmana by birth or by caste, right? But he becomes elevated to the position of the Brahmana by the dint of his practice of devotion service. So in that sense, although his body has not changed, not that he has now got a Brahmana mother, father, like that, not like that. So if prarabdha what level we refer to, whether we refer to totally external prarabdha or totally internal prarabdha, but that doesn't change, but that prarabdha does not obstruct him from performing the sacrifices. So in that sense, his prarabdha becomes changed. He gets a different body. So this theme is discussed in Bhagavatam also. It's an intricate theme. How by practice of devotion service, actually one's body also changes because his mental desires change. So body, the material nature is giving us body at every moment. You know that famous conversation Prabhupada. Every moment we are getting a brand new body. But because it is just continuous change, so we feel we are in the same body. But actually we are changing body at every moment. And he gives a famous example of the frames. That each frame, if you take out, then it's a picture in itself. But because the frames are being moved at a certain speed, then they appear like that one thing only is in movement or in action. But actually each one is a different frame. So similarly, the material nature is giving each living entity a different body at every moment. That gives us some idea what is the extent of Lord's greatness, what is the extent of material energy's power. Giving, each person, each living entity a new body at every moment. That is material nature. So when one comes in touch with the Vaishnava Guru and takes to the process of Shravanam Kirtanam, Vaishnava Vidhi, then actually, apparently, in his database and his Aadhaar card will not change, but actually he has changed. Actually, the person has changed because the man is known by his desires, by his aspirations. So that is why he says that the priestly caste in charge of performing the ritualistic ceremonies recommended in the Veda is called the Brahmana order. Unless one is a Brahmana, he cannot perform these ceremonies. But if even such a person, that means a person who is born in the family of dog eater due to his past activities, his past activities are all sinful. But even if such a person takes to the path of devotion service and begin to chant the holy names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, he is at once fit to perform the ritualistic ceremonies. So this means that the sinful reactions have immediately become neutralized. So Prabhupada in sometime in lectures he gives another example that somebody has become a high court judge. That means all his study is over. Just because he can't say that you padha ya nahi padha, now he's high court judge, that means he has already studied, his 10th, 12th, BA, LLB and everything. So similarly, somebody has taken to Vaishnavism, somebody has taken to the path of devotional service, that means all of the processes are all covered. And he has come to that level, otherwise he's not able to take it up. So he has become qualified, he has become eligible, and his sinful reactions have immediately become neutralized. Okay, read ahead.
It is stated in the Padma Puran that there are 4 kinds of effects due to sinful activities, which are listed as follows. The effect which is not yet fructified, the effect which is lying as seed, the effect which is already mature, and the effect which is almost mature. It is also stated that all these 4 effects become immediately vanquished for those who surrendered unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, and become engaged in his devotional service and full Krishna consciousness.
So this is aprarabdha, phalam, papam, kutam, bijam, phalonmukham. So these are the 4 things which are quoted from Padma Purana. Okay.
Those effects described as almost mature refer to the distress from which one is suffering at present, and the effects lying as seed are in the core of the heart, where there is a certain stock of sinful desires which are like seeds. The Sanskrit word kutam means that they are almost ready to produce the seed or the effect of the seed. An immature effect refers to the case where the seedling has not begun. From this statement of Padma Puran, it is understood that material contamination is very subtle. Its beginning, its function, fruition, and results are how one suffers. Such result in the form of distress are part of a great chain. When one catches some disease, it is often very difficult to ascertain the cause of the disease, where it originated, and how it is maturing. The suffering of a disease, however, does not appear all of a sudden. It actually takes time. And as in the medical field, for precaution's sake, the doctors inject a vaccination to prevent the growing of contamination. The practical injection to stop all the fructifications of the seeds of our sinful activity is simply engaged in Krishna consciousness.
So like the disease, the cause of disease, to understand the cause of disease is very difficult. Who caused, what caused, like somebody got malaria, to find out which mosquito bite caused malaria, very difficult thing. But then one has got malaria, now one has to take the medicine and get cured with that. So similarly, this is a great cycle, great chain, where how this kutam, bijam, papam, prarabdha, aprarabdha, phalan, that all continues to move on. And there are millions of billions of seeds which are there, kutam, then they come into form of desire. That's why we have so many desires coming on every moment, so many desires. And those desires lead to activity, then activity leads to reaction. So that goes on. But the best thing is to engage in devotional service so that the fructification of the seeds can be stopped. So Prabhupada talks of two ways in which the fructification of seed can be stopped. The desire is that seed. One is roasting the seed. Because if the seeds are roasted, then even if they're put in ground, they will not fructify. So he said, this is the process of jnanis and yogis. They go against the desire. The mind wants sardi mein garam pani chahiye, thande pani ka shower mein nahane. Garmi mein thanda pani chahiye, to garam pani se nahane. They're going against the desires, going against the need of the mind. That is their process to perform severe austerities to train the mind like that. A devotee, he says that the devotee way is to overflood. That means if the seeds are in water, overflooding, then also they will not fructify. So Prabhupada says that the devotee generates so many spiritual desires. This is in that verse, Yat Pada Pallav Vilasa Bhakti, Karma Shayam. This verse will be quoted later. So he develops so many desires to serve Krishna, to please Krishna, that all his material desires get overwhelmed, overflowed with that spiritual desire, and thus they never fructify. He said this is the Vaishnava way of overcoming the material desires. And now he talks about bijam. Bija haratvam yatha sasthe. So Rupa Goswami Pad is quoting that how the bija, the sinful desire, is removed, because all other processes can do atonement, but they are not capable of removing the sinful desire. So for that, he is quoting the pastime of Ajamila. Please read.
In this connection, Sukadeva Goswami speaks in the 6th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd chapter, verse 17, about the story of Ajamila, who began life as a fine and dutiful Brahmana, but in his young manhood became wholly corrupted by a prostitute. At the end of his wicked life, just by calling the name Narayana, Krishna, he was saved despite so much sin. Sukadeva points out that austerity, charity, and the performance of ritualistic ceremonies for counteracting sinful activities are recommended processes, but that by performing them, one cannot remove the sinful desire seed from the heart, as was the case with Ajamila in his youth. This sinful desire seed can be removed only by achieving Krishna consciousness. And this can be accomplished very easily by chanting the Mahamantra or Hare Krishna mantra as recommended by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In other words, unless one adopts the path of devotional service, he cannot be 100% clean from all the reactions of sinful activities.
So this is told that how this sinful desire was removed from the heart of Ajamila when he chanted the holy name. He was earlier a Brahmana, but by doing all his Brahmanical duties, he could not resist the temptations of falling down or falling prey to the prostitute. Although he was a Brahmana, he was a dutiful Brahmana, he had all the good qualities. So all the Vedic rituals, Yajna, Dana, Tapa, and Gyan, that could not protect him from falling down, because that seed was there, that desire was there in the heart, and it fructified. All of the process could not stop him. Then, although he became so sinful, the power of the holy name, the power of devotion service, so much that although he became so sinful, He committed so many simple activities that once calling Lord Narayan, once calling the holy name, unconsciously, unknowingly, right? He didn't purposefully, consciously called out for Narayan. He just called casually as his son, Narayan. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, first time he called Narayan, all his sinful reactions were destroyed. And when he continued to call Narayan, he started developing bhakti toward Lord Narayan. Although all of this was happening unconsciously, and apparently his sinful activities were continuing. So apparently the sinful activities were continuing, but that was there, although these activities have no effect on him now. Just like the snake, if the poisonous fangs are removed, even he keeps on biting, it looks like he's kissing. No different, and there's no fear. Fear is there in the mind, but there's no fear when the poisonous teeth are removed. So similarly, although he continued to do his nefarious activities, but they had no effect on him because he already chanted the name of Lord Narayana, the desire is removed, and the sinful reactions are removed, and now he's developing bhakti for Lord. Prabhupada gives another example like the fan, when you switch it off, power is gone. So it's like in one sense it is switched off now. It's switched off, but it takes time to stop it for a while. It stops in a while. So similarly, just to give some scope for the atheist to have their argument, Ajamila's life externally did not change, but internally everything changed. By chanting the holy name of Lord Narayan, the sinful desire was destroyed, which is not possible for yajna, dan, tap, and cultivation of knowledge, which he was doing earlier as a Brahman. Inattentive chanting, he chanted without offense. So inoffensive chanting of holy name did what he could not do consciously by doing all the yajna, dan, tap. To highlight the position of chanting of the holy name and the superiority of bhakti over other processes, that example is being given. So, many times you may say, how many devotees are making, how much training they are giving. But actually, when you go out for Harinam and we tell people to chant, and if they're not offensive, we don't know they are or not. They may be sinful, but if they're not offensive, then one chanting of the holy name can take them to Vaikuntha at the end of the life. So how many people ISKCON is sending back to God, there's no count, because we just count few in our community. But as we were telling other time, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that Nama Grahanam Vaikuntha Arohanam. If there's no offense, sin is not counted only because, when Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami, they were glorifying Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what did they say? That, my dear Lord, Jagai Madha, you were very, very sinful. They're not offensive. They're sinful. But what to say of sins? Billions and trillions of sins are destroyed simply by once chanting your name. So they did not commit offense. They were sinful. They were doing all sinful activities. So then the chanting of the holy name purified them. So similarly, this movement in the Western world is creating miracles because Western people, they are not so much aware of what is offense. Compared to India, they also have offenses. That is a very detailed topic because it's a mentality. It's not just an external thing. It's a mindset which is there. So this is not that in this time one is not coming to devotional service or one is not offensive like that. Not. Just like devotional service is a continuous process. Similarly, the offensive mentality also, we say next chapter it will come. The first line only is that devotional service is a continual process. Somebody has practiced last time, now he has come. So that part of offenses also continues with that. But we meet people who are sinful, they chant the holy name, all their sins are actually destroyed, even without their knowledge. And they become eligible candidate to get liberated. So then one may ask, what are we doing? We are trying to develop prema. Prema is a different thing than liberation. Liberation is easily given by holy name. That's why when you meet Janivas Prabhu, Pangajangi Prabhu, he will say, well, you go out and preach, you're all liberated, What to talk about liberation? You're all liberated. One chanting of the holy name makes you liberated. You've chanted so many names. But we are trying to develop a special quality. So then it is, in a broad way, it is told about the process of bhakti, that how it removes the bija, the seed of sinful desire from the heart of the person. It again comes further. Let's conclude the Kreshagni part for the news.
By performing Vedic ritualistic activity, By giving money in charity and by undergoing austerity, one can temporarily become free from the reaction of sinful activity. But at the next moment, he must again become engaged in sinful activity. For example, a person suffering from renal disease on account of the excessive indulgence in sex life has to undergo some severe pain in medical treatment and he is then cured for time being. But because he has not been able to remove the sex desire from his heart, he must again indulge in the same thing and become a victim of the same disease. So medical treatment may give temporary relief from the distress of such renal disease, but unless one is trained to understand that sex life is abnormal, it is impossible to save from such repeated distress. Similarly, the ritualistic performances, charity and austerity, which are recommended in the Vedas, may temporarily stop one from acting in a sinful way, but as long as the heart is not clear, one will have repeat sinful activity again and again.
So Prabhupada, as usual, to highlight the strength of the practice of devotion service over others, he says that although one may be practicing all these things, charity or ritualistic performance, but heart is not clean. So that will not function. And Manne Kunjar, Sachavat. I consider them like elephant taking bath. Who spoke? Who spoke? Parishit Maharaj, Sukdev Goswami. That all these ritualistic thing by which of atonement and all, Manne Kunja Sat. And then Jnana, what about Jnana, knowing things as they are, process things? He said, no, that is like burning the grass from the top. The roots still remain. So that is why a person who is not trained in Krishna consciousness cannot really free from the desire for sinful activity. Same the seed. Only by being in Krishna service this can be done. Okay, let's read this section. Let's complete this creation section today.
Another example given in Srimad Bhagavatam. There is another evidence in the fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavatam.
Yeah, read.
22nd chapter, verse 39, wherein Sanak Kumar say, my dear king, the false ego of a human being is so strong that it keeps him in material existence as if tied up by a strong rope. Only the devotee can cut off the knot of this strong rope very easily by engaging themselves in Krishna consciousness. Others who are not in Krishna consciousness but are trying to become great mystic and great ritual performer cannot advance like the devotees. Therefore, it is the duty of everyone to engage himself in the activity of Krishna consciousness in order to be free from the tight knot of false ego and engagement in material activities.
This is the translation of the verse you're quoting. Yat pada pankaj palasa vilasa bhaktya karma shayam granthi mudgrata hati santa. So this karma shayan granthi, that is what is being highlighted as the tied up by a strong rope, the knot of the strong rope. Tadva nariktama yatayopi ruddha shoto ganastamaranam bhajavasu. Very nice verse. A lot of elaborate commentaries is there on Acharyas, by Acharyas on this verse. So only the devotees can cut off, others can't, because I want to enjoy, I want to get liberated, I want mystic perfection. So because I is still there, where is the question of cutting the knot? But here he changes his identity to his constitutional position. Jivara Swarupa Krishna Nityadasa. I am a servant of servant. And that is why the knot of false ego is cut. Yeah, here Prabhupada says the same thing.
This tight knot of false ego is due to ignorance. As long as one is ignorant about his identity, he is sure to act wrongly and thereby become entangled in material contamination. This ignorance of a factual knowledge can also be dissipated by the Krishna consciousness, as is confirmed in Padma Purana as follow. Pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness is the highest enlightenment, and when such enlightenment is there, it is just like a blazing forest fire, killing the all inauspicious snakes of desire. The example is being given in this connection that when there is a forest fire, the excessive blazing automatically killing all the snakes in the forest. There are many and many snakes on the ground of the forest, and when a fire takes place, it burns the dried foliage, and the snakes are completely attacked. Animals who have 4 legs can flee from the fires and can at least try to flee, but the snakes are immediately killed. Similarly, the blazing fire of Krishna consciousness is so strong that the snakes of ignorance are immediately killed.
The verse is there from Padma Purana. Kritanu yatra vidyavi hari bhaktir anuttama avidyam nirdhati ashu dava jwarena pana. Also, the Acharyas, Jiva Goswami quotes that whole series of verses, how the Nastiki Bhakti destroys avidya, which Prabhupada also quotes in 2 places. The whole series, Shanavatam Swagata Krishna, Punya Shavana Kirtana, Hridantastohi Abhadrani, Vidunoti Shresatam. So that entire series of 5 verses is quoted. Vidyate Hridaya Granthi Chidyante Sarva Samshaya, Shiyante Chase Karmani, Dvashtevat Manishra. How that progress happens at all different stages. So he says that the Nastiki Bhakti here, he has taken, actually Bhanu has taken the purport and the translation from Prabhupada's purports only. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotees, all that is troublesome to the heart is completely destroyed, and loving service unto the person to Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as irrevocable fact, Nastiki Bhakti. So it happens at the level of Nastiki Bhakti, and then all, what is their Prarabdha and Aprarabdha Phalam and Kutam, Bijam, everything gets destroyed, and a person can experience great relief in one's life. So tomorrow we will see a little more with some more commentary points, and we will cover. No, tomorrow there is no class. No, next Monday. Next Monday we will complete the characteristics of pure devotion service, and after that we will accelerate it because the chapters are smaller comparatively. These 2 chapters are a little longer and more foundational with that. So we'll cover the remaining 5 aspects in the next session on Monday 22nd, and then I'll just see the overall thing and go a little faster to cover at least 5 or 6 chapters in this time, and the remaining one we'll cover in the next. So any discussion or any comment or anything, and we will take it, otherwise we'll close here.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, in this paragraph, what is this? Lord Krishna instruction to Uddhav that all the sinful reactions are burnt up when one is in Krishna consciousness. So there Arjuna thought that fighting was a sinful activity, but Krishna engaged him on the battlefield under his order, and so fighting became devotional service. Therefore, Arjuna was not subjected to any sinful reaction. Actually, because he is following Varnashram Dharma of Kshatriya duty, as per Kshatriya duty, he is not performing any sinful activity. Prabhupada also mentions the word that Arjuna thought that fighting was sinful activity.
Right.
So, and because he is engaged under the guidance of Krishna, therefore it became devotional service, and hence his sinful reactions are removed. But actually, I wanted to know that whether even if he would not have followed the instructions of Krishna, would he have got sinful reactions because he is doing the duty of Kshatriya?
By performing that Varnashram duties, by performing his duty as a Kshatriya, Prabhupada says that even when Kshatriyas practice, Kshatriyas, when they practice killing the animal for the sake of their performing the duty, they do get reaction for that. So that is one part of it. Now when there is a Dharma Yuddha, so that Dharma can be at many levels. There's a Dharma Yuddha. So he wants to be a king, for example, motivated by the desire to become king. But actually the ideal king is a devotee only. So you, in an ideal sense, the Varnashram Dharma cannot be separated from pleasing Krishna because that is the goal of Varnashram. Varnashram, what is it? Vibhagayet, Acharayet, Purusham, Vishnu, Aradhyate Pumsa. Basically what? That even Varnashram Dharma, one has to connect with the desire to please Krishna. He has to know that. He has to know the Dharma. So there are lower categories of Dharma then. Then, there's like Varnashram that, okay, I'm a Kshatriya. But then, okay, what is the difference between me and him? How is he? He's also Kshatriya, na? Duryodhana is also Kshatriya and I'm also Kshatriya. So he is ruling with some level of adharma. So there's adharmas and dharmas of many levels, right? So yes, at one level, then he may not get sinful reaction. When Kshatriyas, when they fight in a religious war, they go to the Suryaloka. That is their destination. They destroyed in the Suryaloka. But again, from Suryaloka, what will happen? A Brahma, Bhuvana Loka. Punaravartino, Arjuna. They tell Arjuna, you can go to Brahmaloka also to come back. So yes, he may not get sinful reaction. He may, but what he's talking of the sinful reaction is in terms of the sinful and pious are both sinful. It's talking at a bhakti level. So yes, he will not get that part, but that's very risky path because, we get reaction not for the action, even otherwise, we get reaction for the intention only. Even in Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda and all those things. It's the intention which brings about the result and the reaction, not the external activity alone. So yes, if he's not a devotee, Arjuna is not a devotee and he just feels that he's a better king than Duryodhana, I can rule the citizens better. So one thing is that the better ruling will be according to Dharma Shastras only. That is bound by that. He cannot speculate his own way. Duryodhana is violating some religious scriptural principles and I will apply those religious principles. So yes, this is according to Dharma. So he may try to follow that Dharma, that following the Dharma, because the Varnashram Dharma, Kshatriya has to be guided by the Brahmanas and by the scripture. He'll go to heaven. He will not get sinful reaction. But then what is the point? Na? Even that is in one way, because we say that pious activities and sinful activity, pious reactions, sinful reactions are like what? Wet and dry streams. So now, that makes the thing very clear because it's a stool. So yes, going to Brahmaloka and going to Suryaloka, being a good Kshatriya, what exactly the purpose it gets served? It doesn't serve the purpose. So in that sense, even people do their Varnashram duties, but they're not devotees, not much meaningful. Right? So that's why we say that in Krishna consciousness, one who comes and chants Hare Krishna is better than somebody who's just pious and religious minded, but they're not taking to spirituality. They are ritualistic. They're not spiritual. So it's a very important thing because if we see like that, that gives us very great broad-mindedness to relate with all people. Now we have a discussion going on whether to put a notice which has been put in all temples. Certain kind of dress is not allowed and things like that. So there's a discussion on that. So different kind of people are saying different things. Some are saying we are international society, Prabhupada never restricted. Prabhupada would have put restriction, then the movement would never have taken off. Their boys and girls are coming like this. You can see in videos also, they're sitting next to each other. They're not like Matai side, Puji side. They were just sitting, playing their instruments and all that. Huh? Yeah. Huh. So some are of that mood, some are saying, no, all traditional temples have put. And somebody saying, well, traditional temples are not preaching, they're not going out. What is the use of traditional temple if you don't preach? So it's a good, good discussion going on. So one has to see in the broader light, what we value is people desire to connect to Krishna. Because we are offering the product of pure devotion. We are offering Bhakti Unmukha Gya Sukrati. We are not offering Karma Unmukha Gya Sukrati or Gyan Unmukha. Even a person talks for 5 minutes, SQ test में भी जाके 10 क्वेश्चन भी सॉल्व करेगा ना, प्योर डिवोशन सर्विस के सुकृति मिलेगा उसको, क्योंकि वो बनाए ऐसे रियल प्रॉब्लम क्या है, गोल ऑफ लाइफ क्या है, और वो सारे रूल आउट कर दिया, असली योग कौन सा है. इफ यू सी दैट पेपर आल्सो, द 10 क्वेश्चंस आर ऑल शुद्ध भक्ति उन्मुख सुकृति है, बीच का कुछ नहीं है. So then we become broad-minded that मंदिर आ रहे हैं ना, Of course, they may be distracting and they may have their own world, but कुछ भी करके मंदिर आया ना, पार्किंग में जाके गाड़ी लगा के चल के तो ना गाड़ी भी उठा के ले जाता है पुलिस आजकल तो टू व्हीलर पे आते हैं तो गाड़ी उठा के ले जाता है. So of course, practicality aside, whatever, but I'm saying that gives a broad vision that somebody taking to devotional service is billions of times better than somebody being a good person but not practicing bhakti. So Arjuna, without Krishna's surrendering to Krishna, would have been a good Kshatriya, but that being good Kshatriya is of no value without his being a devotee. So that is why he may not get reaction. When we do Varnashram duties, we don't get reaction. We get pious reaction. We get piety for that because that's a duty. No? So one get pious reaction. But that pious reaction also binds one. No? It's a golden thread or silver thread or iron thread. What difference does it make? It's a binding. No? Freedom is choked. So compared to absolute level, all things are dry stool and wet stool. Compared to a ritualistic level, they may have a lot of difference. How can you say like that? You know? That's why when Gopal Chapal heard from Haridas Thakur that Mukti is a side benefit and it's a byproduct, then he becomes so upset. अरे पता है कि मुक्ति प्राप्त करने के लिए कितने पापड़ बेलने पड़ते हैं, कितना मेहनत करना पड़ता है, उसको बोलते हैं कि ये ऐसे बाई प्रोडक्ट है. How dare you say that? Imagine, it was a big thing for him. He couldn't digest it. So yeah. So Arjuna's killing became not only free from sin, but it became his devotional service. It became pure devotional service. Everyone whom he killed became purified by the arrow. And then in whatever mood they took darshan of Krishna, they accordingly achieved destination. The arrow is purified. And in that purified state, if they developed affection for Krishna in whatever mood, they went there. If they developed awe and reverence, they went to Vaikuntha. They developed some kind of affection, they went to the spiritual world. In different rasas they went. Not all did not achieve one gross destination in the spiritual realm, but according to how they saw. Just like Mallana Master, that sloga is there, how the people saw him differently. So similarly, the people in the battlefield, being purified by the arrows of Arjuna, in whatever mood, whatever rasa, they actually saw Krishna. Accordingly, they went back to God. They got liberated. That effect would not have been there otherwise. This was his bhakti. He preached. He achieved the end result of preaching with his arrows. So that was Arjuna's thing. Okay, so we stop here. Thank you very much. Shri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai.
The difference is that another Maharaj, waves of devotion, somebody has a desire to steal or something like that. When he sees that proclivity is there, but when he sees then the desire to steal that is called Bija. And proclivity is
Kutam.
Kutam is, he also doesn't know that Kutam is there.
Yeah, but it's there. So he's not knowing it. He's there. And when the right atmosphere comes, it gives rise to the seed. It gives rise to a desire. If Kutam is not there, even if you see somebody stealing, he may say, Arey, he may not get. But because the proclivity is there, when the right atmosphere is there, then it grows in that. So Kutam becomes Bija.